Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Auditor General denounced the current Justice Minister, as well as the current Liberal Heritage Minister and the current Liberal Immigration Minister. These three ministers caused a catastrophe on the international student file. They allowed 150,000 suspected cases of fraud and didn't even investigate them. The Prime Minister promoted these people who wreaked havoc in the system. Will he continue this Liberal incompetence?
Prime Minister.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, I am blessed to have a strong cabinet that works hard for Canada strong. The new Canadian government has taken back control of the immigration system. Asylum claims are down by 1/3. International student numbers have gone down 70%. We have Canada strong and a balanced immigration system.
The new Liberals the same as the old Liberals, Mr. Speaker. The numbers he just gave are compared to the even more miserable numbers of his Justice Minister. In fact, compared to the Harper government, the last sane policy in immigration, we have asylum claims are now up to 2,880%. Temporary foreign workers up 178%. International students up 39%. And yesterday, the Auditor General condemned the current Liberal Justice Minister, Liberal Heritage Minister and Liberal Immigration Minister for allowing 150,000 cases of fraud to go uninvestigated. Will he fire them, or will he just continue with the same Liberal incompetence?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I am blessed with a strong cabinet that's working hard for a strong country. And we are taking control of the immigration system. Asylum seekers down by 1/3, foreign students down by 60%, temporary foreign workers down by 50%, the population equilibrated, equal. We are investigating 100% of every fraud cases since this new government came to office. We have the system under control.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
All an illusion, same old Liberals, same old failures. Look at the economy. He likes to blame world affairs for his failing economy, but the G7 countries have the same world economy. Yet, the Prime Minister has delivered the second highest unemployment in the G7, the worst household debt in the G7, the worst housing costs in the G7, the worst, in fact, the only shrinking economy in the G7. And, Mr. Speaker, we have 100,000 lost jobs in the last 2 months alone. Why is it that after this Prime Minister promised that he'd be the first, he's the worst in the G7?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let's take a look at what's happened since this summer. The United States has lost 6,000. Écoute.
Come on. These are important issues. These are important issues we're discussing. And Canadians are watching. The Right Honourable Prime Minister from the top, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's look at what's happened to the United States since the summer. They have lost 6,000 jobs. This country's created over 80,000 jobs since August. Let's look at what's happened to wages in this country. They are growing the highest in years, 4%. They're growing twice the rate of inflation. Canadians are getting ahead. Every single month of this government, Canadian wages have grown faster than the rate of inflation. Rents are at a 33-month low. Affordability is the best it's been in over a decade.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Maybe for your friends.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I guess for those people who stash their cash in tax havens, you've never had it so good and so affordable. Tell that to the single mothers walking down the grocery aisle. Or let's talk about jobs. He compares it to the United States. When you do an apples-to-apples comparison of unemployment, it is 1.3% higher in Canada than it is in the U.S. In fact, Canada has the second highest unemployment in the G7, the worst grocery price inflation in the G7, the most unaffordable housing in the G7, the worst household debt in the G7. Mr. Speaker, he promised we'd be first, so why is he the worst?
Hear, hear, hear. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have the lowest debt burden in the G7. We have the lowest deficit in the G7. We have the highest credit rating in the G7. What is this government doing? It's putting it into action with a defence industrial strategy that'll bring $500 billion of investment, with an auto strategy, with an electricity strategy, with the climate competitiveness strategy, with a housing strategy. We are moving forward. We're investing in this country, the second best country in the world for foreign direct investment. We are moving forward. Come join us.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Strategies and imaginary promises will not pay the bills or fill the tank. We all know that global oil prices have gone up, but that does not explain while in Canadian dollars and in liters, Americans pay $1.46 a liter at the pump, while Canadians are paying $1.70. 26 cents higher per liter at the pump because of this Prime Minister's anti-energy policies and his newly renamed carbon tax, the Clean Fuel Standard. Will he get rid of these policies and get rid of that tax so Canadians can have some relief at the pumps?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I know the member opposite was not here in the spring. It's a source of great sadness. We got rid of the consumer carbon tax. That took off 18 cents per liter. That took off 18 cents per liter. And Mr. Speaker, what matters is the rate of growth of wages relative to overall inflation. Wages growing twice the rate. This country is moving forward.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It's all an illusion, Mr. Speaker. This Prime Minister not only supported the carbon tax that he advised Justin Trudeau to put in, he thought it should be higher and broader. And when he got into power, he didn't get rid of it. He renamed it. He called it the Clean Fuel Standard. 7 cents a litre this year, rising to 17 cents. On top of an industrial carbon tax that's driving up the costs of all the industrial production of our energy. And that is one of the reasons why under this Liberal Prime Minister, Canadians pay the equivalent of 26 cents a litre more than the Americans. Will he stop ripping off Canadians at the pump, get rid of these Liberal taxes so Canadians can get moving?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are getting this country moving with the biggest transformation of this economy in generations. We are building unprecedented amounts of affordable housing. We are building clean energy. We are lowering energy costs for Canadians. We are building a defence industrial strategy this country has not seen since the Second World War. We are protecting Canadians. We are building this economy. We are empowering Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Beloeil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, first, I want to be very clear. The Bloc fully respects freedom of religion. This is true for all the people, and it's true for the Premier of Quebec as well. Now, yesterday the Prime Minister quoted the Bible, which is his prerogative, but I have a question about current events. Does the Prime Minister endorse the church-state separation and Quebec secularism?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, true, yesterday, alongside the opposition leader and members of the NDP and the leader of the Green Party and the Speaker of the House himself, I was there. I did quote from the Bible. And I also quoted from Marcus Aurelius, like the opposition leader, because he came up with some universal principles, virtues, values, examples of virtues, examples of determination, and of course,
L'honorable député de Belleuil.
The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. The first word was yes, so I guess that's clear. I assume that, like us, the Prime Minister believes that politics and religion should be different. There's the public sphere and the private sphere, and the religion should not interfere in state decisions. Could the Prime Minister then explain why his government asked Crown attorneys to oppose a bill duly passed by the Quebec Parliament which would ensure church-state separation? Why is he spending millions of taxpayer dollars, including Quebec taxpayer dollars, on this fight? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, that's a fundamental question. The member's question has to do with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It is the responsibility of the federal government to defend that charter. There is a process going on right now at the Supreme Court. We will await the result. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. At a certain point, the Prime Minister will need to make a decision. Either he will have to acknowledge that religion can influence the affairs of the state, or he will have to stop going after Bill 21, which enshrines secularism in Quebec state institutions. The Prime Minister cannot say two contradictory things. At a certain moment, he will need to decide and give some answers. Is he in agreement with the principle of church-state separation, yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, that is a false choice. The Bloc has made a decision with Bill C-9. It is Parliament's responsibility to protect the rights of religious people. For example, the Jewish community here in Canada, they must be protected from hatred. So why, Mr. Speaker, I'm confused about why, when the member across the way is asking questions like that while also supporting Bill C-9.
While the Liberals don't control what happens abroad, they do control their policies here at home. And instead of working to bring costs down, the Liberal Prime Minister is not only going ahead with his industrial carbon tax, he's introduced a fuel standards tax which adds 7 cents a litre to the already high cost of gas, and that'll eventually rise to 17 cents per litre. It's more of the same Liberal taxes from the same Liberal government. So when will this Liberal government give Canadians a break and get rid of these Liberal gas taxes that are making life more expensive for Canadian families?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad to be able to stand up here once again to reiterate and remind the members opposite that the industrial carbon price does not increase the cost of food. Studies show that. But if they want to talk about what we can do to help Canadians, I hope that they will celebrate alongside with me that our government cut taxes for Canadians. That is a win. They can talk about imaginary taxes. Over here, we're taking real action on affordability.
Member for Chilliwack Hope.
Canadians are paying more because of Liberal policies here at home. All G7 countries are dealing with similar external factors, but it is only this Liberal government that has caused us to have the worst food inflation and the only shrinking economy in the G7. The price of gas is 20% higher here than it is in the US, and Liberal fuel and carbon taxes are making it even worse. When will this Liberal government stop passing the buck, take responsibility for their policies, and finally cut Liberal taxes to make life more affordable for Canadians?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know where that member's been, but on this side of the House, we're going to continue to focus on affordability for Canadians. We cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. We cut the GST for first-time homebuyers. We cut the consumer carbon tax. Mr. Speaker, on this side, we're going to continue to focus on and build the strongest economy in the G7 Time for that party, that leader, and that member to stop the obstruction and stop the rhetoric. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for New Tecumseh Gwillimbury.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians can't afford the cost of living. And the Liberals, they think the best way to get them back on their feet is to miss 3 car payments. That's the problem. Their decisions keep making life more expensive. As gas prices skyrocket, this government is making things worse with their industrial carbon tax and the fuel standard tax. They point to global instability, but it is this Prime Minister who is choosing to make Canadians pay even more at the pump. Why won't the Liberals remove the gas tax on gas and give Canadians a break?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
We acknowledge that oil price shocks due to the war in the Middle East are rippling across the world and increasing the cost of living pressures on Canadians here at home. That's why we recently worked with our international partners to release hundreds of millions of barrels of Canadian oil as part of an effort to provide stability for businesses and consumers. We can't unblock the Strait of Hormuz, but we can control what we do here at home. We've cut taxes for 22 million Canadians, offered a groceries and essentials benefit, offered a national school food program. That saves families hundreds and thousands of dollars per month.
The Honourable Member for New Tecumseh Gwillimbury.
Gas prices are 26 cents higher in Canada than the U.S., and Liberal policies are forcing Canadians to skip meals, defer dreams, and fall behind on bills. That's because we are the only one with a shrinking economy in the G7, as well as the worst food inflation. While Canadians are being forced into hard choices, this Liberal government has a simple choice. They can scrap the taxes that are driving up fuel costs so Canadians pay less at the pump. Will they finally take responsibility for what they can control and axe these taxes?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well, thanks, Mr. Speaker. Maybe that member remembers voting against all of the measures that actually do make life more affordable. For example, early learning and childcare here in Ontario, saving a family with one child $16,000 a year, Mr. Speaker. For example, the announcement we just made yesterday to ensure that students can access up to 40% more in student grants. That's going to make sure that student accessibility to education remains affordable. Mr. Speaker, the list goes on and on. But no matter what it is, they vote against it. Why don't they support Canadians?
The Honourable Member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, every G7 country faces global headwinds, yet only one is choosing to make inflation worse through domestic policy. Canada now leads the G7 in food price inflation, carries the only shrinking G7 economy, and faces fuel costs nearly 20% higher than the United States because this Liberal government is adding an industrial carbon tax and a fuel standard tax that will reach 17 cents per litre. If the Prime Minister cannot name a single G7 country that is following this declining trend, what justification does this one have for doubling down this failed path?
The Honourable Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, will they continue to talk down this economy, talk down our workers? We are building it up. Why? Because we have a plan. We have a plan to make life more affordable. We cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. We've taken the GST off first-time homebuyers, and we are investing in our auto sector, our steel sector, our aluminum sector. Why? There's a trade war on, and we are backing real families, real companies, and real jobs. Why don't they get on board and support real workers?
The Honourable Member for Foothills.
Mr. Speaker, we're not talking down the economy. The Liberals are bringing down the economy. But a recent survey showed that 84% of farmers think this Prime Minister is an epic failure. I'm wondering if the Prime Minister could tell me which one of his policies have made farmers so angry. Is it the fact that they're closing 7 research centres and firing hundreds of scientists? Is it because we're the only G7 country with a 35% tariff on fertilizer imports? Is it the fuel standard, the industrial carbon tax, which goes up again on April 1st? Which one of these policies is the reason the Prime Minister is an epic failure?
Exactly right. The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, if you would like to talk about farmers and canola farmers specifically, let's talk about how the clean fuel regulations actually help canola farmers. It adds to the value of a bushel of canola. But you know what? The leader of the opposition may want to speak to some of his constituents. He represents the second largest canola producing riding in all of Alberta. And right next to him is a Strathcona renewable diesel facility that's going to purchase about half of Alberta's canola production. That is good for farmers.
Honourable member for Foothills.
I would like the minister to know that their fuel regulations are so complicated, has made it so expensive that 3/4 of the feedstock comes from the United States or used cooking oil from China, not canola farmers in Alberta. It is the clean fuel standard, the industrial carbon tax, an escalator tax, and tariffs on fertilizer, which are making food unaffordable and farming unsustainable. Will the Liberals realize that it is their own policies that are causing these problems? Will they cancel their fuel tax, their industrial carbon tax, their escalator tax, and help make Canadians' life more affordable?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we eliminated the divisive consumer carbon price, and they're still complaining, Mr. Speaker. We know the industrial carbon tax has a negligible effect on food. If that member goes out and buys an F-150 Ford tomorrow from the highest emission contributor of steel and aluminum in this country, I can tell you he can go back to the Leader of the Opposition and get his triple because it's cheaper than what it's costing us, the GHG emissions. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Rivière. Yes, the Honourable Member for Rivière du Nord has the floor. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals keep saying that they will not comment on the ongoing Supreme Court case on Bill 21 and the notwithstanding clause. No interpretation? Okay. We'll give the opportunity to the member for Rivière du Nord to ask his question. The Honourable Member for Rivière du Nord. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals keep saying that they will not comment on the ongoing Supreme Court case on Bill 21 of the notwithstanding clause. However, the weekend before the Terrebonne by-elections, they will hold their convention in Montreal, and the very first resolution to be debated would be a federal veto on all provincial legislation invoking the notwithstanding clause before exhausting all other options. It's the very first resolution at the top of their agenda. The Liberals may not want to talk about the work of the Supreme Court, but at a certain moment they will have to vote on their own resolution. So how will they be voting? I don't know if it has to do with the federal government. We're talking about a specific political party. We're talking about political party delegates at a Montreal convention. I will allow the member, however, to ask his second question. This will be taken into advisement. But would the Honourable Member for Rivière du Nord like to ask a second question? Mr. Speaker, it's written right there in black and white, to quote, that the Liberal Party of Canada urged the Government of Canada to invoke disallowance on any provincial legislation that proactively invokes the notwithstanding clause before court challenges are exhausted. That's what they want to see, but they're trying to get the Supreme Court to do their dirty work for them. Mr. Speaker, if these Liberals truly want to change the Constitution, they should reopen it. Will they have the courage to do that instead of hiding behind the court system? The Honourable Minister of Justice. Mr. Speaker, we've been clear. The federal government has the responsibility and duty to defend the Constitution. You can defend the French language and the right of Francophones to live their lives in French while also defending the Constitution. This is not the right place to have this debate. The case is before the Supreme Court, and that is the best forum for these sorts of debates. The Honourable Member for Louis St. Laurent, Akiawanrock. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister was elected based on the promise that we would have the strongest economy in the G7, and 1 year on, that's not what we're seeing. In just the first 2 months of the year, 100,000 Canadians lost their jobs, 100,000. We are the only shrinking economy in the G7. We have the highest unemployment rate in the G7. And most importantly, we have the worst food inflation in the G7. Will the Prime Minister and his government finally acknowledge that their policies aren't working? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are a number of factors that are driving up food costs these days. For example, the cost of fertilizer. But we can control affordability measures that we put in place here, like a tax cut for 22 million Canadians, the Canadian Groceries Benefit, which assists over 12 million Canadians. But we won't just stop there. These are measures within our control. We'll have a defence industrial strategy which will create jobs in Quebec, including at the Davie Shipyard and the Valcartier military base. I hope that the member for Louis Saint Laurent Akiawan-Rock will support our policies. The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent Akiawan-Rock. I guess we have bad news for Canadians. The Liberal policies are not working. 100,000 Canadians, men, women, households have been affected by job losses. That's the reality after 1 year of this Prime Minister and the Liberal government. Sure, there are problems all around the world. But if that's the case, why is it Canada that is feeling the impact of food inflation? This is unacceptable, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, what is unacceptable is that every time members across the way have an opportunity to support people, for example, through the Canadian Child Benefit, the Canada Dental Plan, tax cuts, the grocery benefit, on every single one of these occasions, they voted against. Meanwhile, on this side of the House, we are building the strongest economy in the G7. We have a defence industrial strategy. We are carrying out major projects like the Nouveau Monde graphite mine. That is what we're doing on this side of the House. The Honourable Member for Côte-du-Sud, Rivière-du-Loup, Kataskamik-Témiscouata. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said that Canada would have the strongest economy in the G7. And instead we find ourselves with the weakest economy in the G7. Over 100,000 jobs lost in 2 months, the second highest unemployment rate, the highest household debt, and the worst food inflation in the entire G7. Instead of solving the problem, the Prime Minister is still holding back projects, taxing production, and expanding deficits to the detriment of Canadians. How can this Liberal government claim that all is fine when their choices are hurting families and the economy? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hear the question from my colleague. We work together well. I have a lot of respect for him, but I don't understand why he refuses to acknowledge that this government has focused on Buy Canadian, leading to more jobs in his riding, in La Pocatière, at Alstom. Why isn't he asking questions about that? I'm sure people at La Pocatière are very happy. Things are going well in the service sector in his region. The same can be said for the member for Louis Saint Laurent who just asked a question. We are investing in the Quebec City region. We will get things done at the Davie Shipyard. The Honourable Member for Richmond North Athabasca.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' Curam financial fiasco continues. After $5 billion in cost overruns, officials have admitted that they do not know how much it will cost in the future. It could easily exceed $660 million to $1 billion in annual operating expenses, Mr. Speaker. Curam is already the most expensive Liberal scandal in history. My question is simple. Is the Prime Minister going to show leadership, and will he finally take charge of this issue himself? Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. When it comes to modernizing benefits, Mr. Speaker, remember that the system that we are replacing is a 50-year-old system. Our old age security benefits for seniors depended on it, and it was imperative for us to make this change. What I'm noticing is for 7.7 million seniors, they are receiving their payments in time, and we are addressing the backlog month after month. Service Canada officials are working at this. The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, Journal de Québec tells us that the Liberal government has spent over $211 million in cost overruns for Accenture, an external firm, IT consultant firm. And this feeds into Curam. Cost overruns, And then there are the issues of outsourcing to India. Accenture is related to Brookfield, of course. Does it make sense to the Liberals that the taxpayer money just serves to make these businesses wealthier while citizens have to pay out of their pockets? The Honourable Minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm very proud to see that the modernization of benefits that was essential to do, and if you look at the Auditor General's report from 2014, we could see that we were heading towards a wall with the former system. And so it's positive that we are focusing on moving towards a modern system so that seniors can get accurate amounts, benefits. 7.7 million Canadians are receiving these benefits. The Honourable Member for Acadie-Annapolis. Thank you very much, Speaker. I'm pleased to represent Acadie-Annapolis, a mostly rural riding in Nova Scotia that I've been living in for a long time, forever.
Medium-sized businesses, whether it's engaging with business owners or by supporting them in my daily life. However, we know that rural business owners often struggle with less access to financing, smaller markets, a tighter pool of workers, and longer supply chain. So to the Minister of ACOA, how is the Government of Canada supporting small and medium-sized businesses in Acadie-Annapolis and in Atlantic Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague for his advocacy for economic growth in Atlantic Canada. I'd like to point out that he once served as the critic for Atlantic Canadian economic development before he joined the governing benches. Despite almost 5 months passing, the Conservatives are yet to appoint a successor, despite having good Atlantic Canadians they could put to the position. But, Mr. Speaker, to my colleague's question, we are advancing new programs to help small and medium-sized businesses deal with American tariffs, to help small firms become big firms by tapping into the defense industrial strategy, and we have not forgotten what built our economy, including the fishery, which that member has been a champion for, to restore the Atlantic Fisheries Fund and to remove Asian tariffs on Nova Scotian seafood. We need more champions like this in government.
The Honourable Member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, I hope it was worth it. Under this Liberal Prime Minister, Canada is losing jobs at speeds not seen in a generation. Over 100,000 full-time jobs lost in a month alone, and close to 50,000 youth jobs lost. In the G7, we have the only shrinking economy, the second highest unemployment, the highest household debt, and the highest food inflation. The Liberal rhetoric simply does not match the reality. Why can't they recognize the problems that their policies are causing and adopt the Conservative Jobs Plan?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know what the Conservative job plan is because they vote against every single thing, including the things that unions have saying they need. We're investing in skills training for young people, Mr. Speaker, and we are moving forward with a defense industrial strategy that's creating 125,000 jobs. The major projects are estimated to support over 60,000 jobs, and we are ensuring that workers have the training they need. These are all things that the Conservatives fight against. So what exactly is their job strategy? Do nothing?
The Honourable Member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, we released a detailed jobs plan in the fall. This Liberal government's approach is clearly failing. Over 100,000 jobs lost. They talk about major projects. They haven't approved a single major project. Now, Canadians at home are experiencing the catastrophic impacts of Liberal policies. They promised a trade when they haven't delivered it. The industrial carbon tax remains in place. Objectively, we are shedding jobs at rates not seen in a generation. Will they stop patting themselves on the back and actually recognize the challenges Canadians are facing?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, here are a few facts for the member. Joint support ships, 3,500 jobs. Arctic and offshore patrol ships, 2,300 jobs. Remotely piloted aircraft system jobs, 700 annually. River-class destroyers, 5,250 jobs. Logistics vehicle modernization, 1,000 jobs. Armored combat support vehicles, 1,650 jobs. Mr. Speaker, this list goes on and on and on.
The Honourable Member for Mission, Matsqui, Abbotsford.
Speaker, the Prime Minister promised Canadians the strongest economy in the G7. Instead, Canada now has the only shrinking economy and the second highest unemployment. We've lost over 100,000 jobs since January this year, and many of our small businesses are going to the United States. Other countries are dealing with the same problems and same global pressures. Will the Prime Minister admit his policies are failing Canadians and outline why our economy is the worst in the G7?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, since September, Canada's economy created 80,000 jobs. Because we know in times of global uncertainty, we need to invest, Mr. Speaker. That is why we've made the largest infrastructure investment in Canadian history, Mr. Speaker. We're building big, we're building bold, and we're building now, Mr. Speaker, with Canadian steel, Canadian lumber, Canadian unionized workers, Mr. Speaker. We're laser focused on creating jobs, good jobs in the skilled trades, good jobs for the future generations. Mr. Speaker, when will the Conservatives get on board?
The Honourable Member for Mission Matsqui Abbotsford.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think the gravity of the situation is hitting the government appropriately. In the last 2 decades, Canada has lost 100,000 entrepreneurs, but our population has gone up by 10 million people. Since 2019, there's been a 19% increase in business exits with only a 5% increase in new businesses. Nothing this government is doing is helping our entrepreneurs, our job creators. When will this government reverse its horrible economic policies and get out of the way so businesses can thrive?
The Honourable Minister for Women, Gender Equality, Small Business and Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, our government is focused on delivering results, which includes increasing business confidence. And in fact, the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses reports very recently that small business optimism is at the highest level in 2 years. And that is because on this side of the House, we are ensuring that we are cutting red tape for small and medium-sized enterprises. We're investing in them, Mr. Speaker, and ensuring that as we expand to new markets and in new countries, we're going to make sure that they have all the opportunity to be able to export and grow their businesses, Mr. Speaker. We will always be there for them.
Nice. Member for Fort McMurray, Cold Lake.
The Prime Minister promised the strongest economy in the G7. Instead, Canada is at the bottom. We have the only shrinking economy, the second highest unemployment, the highest household debt, and the worst food inflation in the G7. The Prime Minister can't hide behind global challenges when every other G7 country faces the exact same pressures. These problems didn't appear overnight. They are a direct result of bad Liberal policies. Will the Prime Minister reverse course on the policies that have left Canada with a shrinking economy, soaring food prices, and rising unemployment?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, the opposition's picking up the same lines like a soon-to-be-gifted kettleball, but these repetitions will not get them the gains that they seek because they require Canadians to forget everything before yesterday. We are in a trade war, Mr. Speaker, and in that trade war we are performing very well. We are getting more jobs than the United States. We have foreign direct investment at the highest level in 18 years. Alberta's unemployment decreased by 0.4 points in this year, and there is much to celebrate because we have a strong focus on building this economy and we are seeing results.
For Fort McMurray, Cold Lake.
Albertans know that member lives in an illusion. There are no projects that have been improved by this government and no shovels in the ground. For years, the Liberal government did everything in their power to block pipelines, stall major energy projects, and scare off investment, weakening one of Canada's most critical economic drivers, the oil sands, and Canadians are now paying the price. With a shrinking economy and over 100,000 jobs already lost this year, the consequences are clear. Will the Prime Minister finally reverse course, unleash Canada's energy sector, and help rebuild our economy?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, oil and gas production in Canada is at record highs, up 34% in the last 10 years. We've managed to do that while reducing emissions in our country by 6%. We have found a way to sustainably grow and meet the growing needs of the world, including diversifying needs from allies that are increasingly requiring carbon lower emissions. We are building strong. We have approved Siliciums, the Taylor to Gordondale pipeline, NextGen and Dennis's uranium mines. TMX optimization is underway. LNG projects from Cedar to Woodfibre to Tilbury to LNG Canada 2. They are happening. We are building strong, and we welcome you to join us in that building.
Again, through the chair, the Honourable Member for Tubik Mactaquac.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised Canadians the strongest economy in the G7, but today we are falling behind. We now have the only shrinking economy in the G7 and among the highest unemployment and the highest household debt. In rural communities, families are being hit really hard. Farmers and producers are facing soaring input costs and blocked resource projects that drive local economies. Canada is struggling because of Liberal policies that have stifled growth. When will the Prime Minister turn from these failed policies that have left Canadians behind? When?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the economy, that leader's missing in action. That member there, Mr. Speaker, he's a good man. I respect his faith very, very much. But on this side of the House, we're focused on building a strong economy, the strongest economy in the G7. We are investing in nation-building projects like Port St. John in my riding. We've invested hundreds of millions of dollars that will employ thousands of people. What about Sisson Mine, a nation-building project, a major project in that member's riding that will employ thousands of people? Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we are serious about building a strong economy. That side simply is not. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Elmwood Transcona.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are hurting. The Prime Minister promised Canadians the best, yet our economy is performing among the worst. We've lost over 100,000 jobs in the first 2 months this year, and our economy is beginning to shrink. If this is the result of global factors, as these Liberals claim, then why is our economy performing so poorly compared to other G7 countries? Will the Prime Minister work with us to reverse their disastrous economic policies that have made it harder for Canadians to put food on the table?
Here, here. The Honourable Minister for Northern Affairs and Arctic Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, we're making life more affordable, not just in big cities, but across Northern and Indigenous communities. We've cut taxes for 22 million Canadians so Northern families can keep more on their table. The Permanent National Food Program is saving families around $800 a year, and we're tackling food costs by building an all-season infrastructure road through the Arctic. We're building the nation and building scalable affordability. We're also reforming Nutrition North. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
The Prime Minister's rhetoric is completely disconnected from reality. He says Canada would be the best economy in the G7, yet he's delivered the worst. 100,000 jobs gone in 2 months. And here's Canada's G7 record. The only shrinking economy, the highest food inflation, the highest household debt, the second highest unemployment. He continues to point to global pressures, but every other G7 country is facing the exact same problems, yet their economies are growing and ours are shrinking. This is a domestic failure made in Canada by this Liberal government. When will they reverse their economic policies that are failing Canadians?
Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, the opposition wants to close their eyes and have a fantasy that the trade war will go away, that the tariffs will go away. Doesn't work like that. You got to have a plan. You got to invest in your workers. You got to invest in affordable housing. You got to invest in national defense. You've got to invest in Canadians and their workers, auto parts, like we're doing with federal economic development, many in conservative ridings. Mr. Speaker, let me boil it down simply. They got to believe in Canada, buy in Canada, and build in Canada. They got to try that.
The Honourable Member for Madawaska-Restigouche. Mr. Speaker, accelerating housing is key to improving affordability. And this is why Build Canada Homes is working with partners across the country to launch more housing projects. Last week, I had an opportunity, along with my colleagues, to take part in an announcement to present excellent news to the people from New Brunswick. I'd like to ask the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure to inform the House about this recent housing announcement in New Brunswick. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister of Housing. Thank you to the Honourable Member for the question. We do have good news in New Brunswick. Through Build Canada Homes, we are working with partners to deliver 1,200 affordable housing units and potentially up to 1,500 affordable housing units. These projects will be ready to break down ground soon, and nearly half will use modern construction methods to speed up delivery. Together with our partners, we are building more homes for all Canadians.
Member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No community in this country will be protected from hate with legislation that threatens to imprison them for deeply and sincerely held religious beliefs. But that's precisely what Bill C-9 is going to do, a bill the Liberals are forcing to a vote today, despite the cries of millions of Canadians from multiple faiths and civil society groups that this bill will violate their civil liberties. It may appease some people like the Minister of Identity and Culture, who believes you need a black highlighter to read a holy text, but for most Canadians, they want the freedom to live out their beliefs. Will the Liberals do the right thing and reduce this divisive and toxic bill to the rubble bin where it belongs?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, one of the member's colleagues from Windsor included in her flyer those same tired talking points, and the Windsor Star spoke to some of her constituents who said that her flyer was divisive and inflammatory, was insulting to their intelligence, and that they were more concerned with the misinformation from the Conservatives than the content of the bill. Bill C-9, the Combating Hate Act, is designed to protect religious freedoms, to ensure people of faith can practice within their community of faith without fear of intimidation or obstruction, and to make sure that we recognize the moral culpability when a person is targeted for a crime on the basis of their identity. That is good policy that will keep Canadians safe.
Honourable Member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad the Liberals are getting their money's worth with their media bailout, but that doesn't eliminate the many concerns that Canadians have raised across this country. The Liberals say when these civil liberties concerns are put at their feet to just trust them, that they won't violate Charter rights because the Charter protects those rights. Yet last week, that very Attorney General appealed the Federal Court of Appeal decision that was ruling the Emergencies Act was unlawful, that this government, despite the promises of Justin Trudeau, did violate the constitutional rights of Canadians. If they truly are serious about protecting these rights, why won't they drop their appeal and drop C-9?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, it seems the Conservative strategy when they lose an argument is to blame the media and throw spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. Let's actually talk about the facts. Bill C-9, the Combating Hate Act, from inception was designed to protect religious freedoms, to combat hate crimes that were taking place in this country, to protect the ability of the Jewish community to go to their synagogues and the Muslim community to go to their mosques and Christian communities to go to their churches, to ensure people could pray freely without fear of intimidation or obstruction. We are loud and clear. People are sick and tired of hate crimes in this country, and they want their government to do something about it. The Conservative option is to send out fundraising emails.
The Honourable Member for Sarnia, Lambton, the Kidswoman.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Emergency Measures Act has been ruled unlawful by the courts twice. The Liberals violated the charter rights of Canadians by freezing their bank accounts when the threat of a national security threshold was never met. They've wasted millions of dollars of taxpayer money, and now they are appealing this court decision for a third time. With an affordability crisis and a jobs crisis, will the Liberals quit wasting taxpayer monies on something that the courts have ruled twice is unlawful?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, it seems the Conservatives never tire of standing up for the people who illegally occupied the main street of our nation's capital, refused to leave, were implored to leave by local residents, by the police, asked politely, would refuse to leave this city and this capital that Canadians are so proud of. The real question, Mr. Speaker, is why do these Conservatives continue to stand up for the convoy and lawlessness in this country?
The Honourable Member for Avalon.
Mr. Speaker, Newfoundland and Labrador are strategically located to bolster Canada's defence strategy. Our new government is committed to spending 2% of GDP on defence this year and 5% by 2035. My question is very simple. Will Newfoundland and Labrador have an opportunity to play a role in the defence strategy? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Speaker, my colleague
colleague from Newfoundland and Labrador is completely right. Our province is made for this moment. And that's why I was proud last week to announce a federal investment of $16 million in Newfoundland and Labrador companies to build a stronger industrial base for defense manufacturing in our province. That means good jobs for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians to build more of what Canada needs at this time, to stay strong, secure, and sovereign.
The honourable member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
On the West Coast, we don't just live near the ocean, Mr. Speaker, we live on it. Time on the water is how we connect with friends, clear our heads, and put food on the table. It's practically therapy, and you might even catch dinner. But now the Liberals are putting 9,100 jobs and a $1.76 billion industry at risk with proposed changes to the salmon allocation policy. So I ask, will this East Coast minister show respect for our West Coast way of life by committing right now to maintain priority for public fisheries and certainty of public access to salmon to feed our families?
Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Lessons from the other side on standing up for harvesters. What I will remind this member, the opposition, I spoke to this yesterday. We had a one-year consultation on a policy that was not reviewed since 1999. The 1 year open, we will have, we're working through what we heard, and we will have a decision in due course, and I will let that member know. No decision has been made.
The honourable member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, Donald Trump's attack on Iran is not only illegal and causing death and destruction, it is spreading economic chaos around the globe. Canadians are now seeing sky-high gas prices, and the cost of products from fertilizers to food are going to soar, bringing pain to every household. Economists predict the world will face massive turmoil for years to come. What does the Prime Minister say to Canadians who are suffering serious financial harm as a result of the senseless war that he and the Conservatives supported?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Canada is deeply concerned by the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which is threatening global energy security and economic stability. As we have emphasized, Canada's focus is on ensuring the safe and unimpeded flow of energy and commerce in line with the United Nations Conventions on the Law of the Sea. We urge all parties to de-escalate the conflict, and we will continue to work alongside our G7 and like-minded allies to ensure the Strait of Hormuz remains open and secure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I would like to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of the Honourable Cyril Turton, Minister of Children and Family Services for the province of Alberta.